This episode of the Flush Podcast is brought to you by North Dakota Tourism. Start planning your next hunting adventure in North Dakota at legendarynd.com. And by Onyx Hunt, the #1 GPS hunting map app. Onyx, know where you stand. Today we're talking about hunting dog nutrition. We wouldn't find a tenth of the birds in the field without our bird dogs, which is why it's so dang important to make sure they have everything they need to hunt at their best. Matt King from NutriSource Pet Foods joins us today to share his wisdom and hopefully help your dog achieve peak performance. Welcome to another episode of the Flush Podcast. I'm Travis Frank. I'm your host. Brandon Morton is our producer. I want to start today's show by saying thanks to all of you that have sent in emails and messages since we launched this podcast, I think 42 weeks ago. We're coming up on a year now. I enjoy the interaction and the ideas that you send my way. Today, I want to discuss one of the topics that has come my way now a few times, and that's hunting dog nutrition. I'll be honest, I have a lot to learn on this topic too, which is why I'm really glad that Matt King has taken the time today to share some of his wisdom. Matt, welcome to the Flush Podcast.
Well, thank you, Travis. Really excited to be part of the podcast here today and visiting with you and your followers. So thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. So what is your role at NutriSource Pet Foods?
Well, I work on the dog and cat food side of the business. I'm a regional manager for a team of about 7 that covers the upper Midwest. So we've got 7 states and about 7 regional reps that I work alongside with, hopefully making your dog and cat family a little bit happier at home.
Yeah. How long have you been there?
Oh, gosh. I've been part of NutriSource since 2009 already.
What made you want to get into the pet food industry?
That's a funny story, Travis. Actually, my father worked for Tuffy's Pet Foods in the 70s and 80s into the 90s. And we live in a pretty small community where our facility and family-owned business is located. So I grew up in this community and was fortunate enough to become part of the family business in 2009. So.
Nice. So you're a hunter as well, but what came first for you? Was it your love for hunting or your love for dogs?
They kind of go hand in hand. I don't recall the first time when I was a young person, we had a puppy that was the same age as I was. Evidently, she was a brag dog, as my dad would call her. That's a once-in-a-lifetime dog that you get and probably have nothing to do with training. They just come naturally and makes you as a hunter look really successful. We made the transition from southern Minnesota up to northern Minnesota, and that dog went to a new owner, and that was my first experience with a hunting dog, although I very vaguely recall driving around with my dad chasing pheasants in southern Minnesota. But the connection was made, and later in life, not until I was older and of age, got the opportunity to have my own hunting dog. So
who do you hunt with now?
A lot of the hunting I end up doing. My kids aren't into hunting, so just time constraints and those types of things. A lot of the opportunity ends up by yourself and your dog.
Who's your dog? Well,
I've got a couple of them. My oldest dog, his name is Tate, and he's a German wire hair. He's a 9-year-old dog, and he knows more about bird hunting than I do, and that's for sure.
That's a good thing, though, right?
It's a very good thing. Yeah, he doesn't want to slow down at all, but I think his body, by the way he walks, sometimes tells me that he needs a little backup. So this year we picked up another one, another dog by the name of Boomer, and he is a Drother. And they're very similar in the way they look and operate, but I understand there's some different background between the two, and it's a topic of discussion, much like politics with certain dog owners. So I don't want to get into that on the podcast.
Right. Well, what made you want to get those two breeds?
I was a setter owner prior to, and my setters that I did have were not real strong retrievers. I really like to watch the pointing dogs work. I really think it's a thing of beauty, and all dogs, flushing dogs as well. But the pointing dog, just for some reason, has gotten my attention more than anything. The setters I did have, just like I said, were not real strong at retrieving, and that was a big part of the end result for me. When you're out walking different points of land, and you get to the end of the point, and the land is out, and you finally flush your rooster right at the edge of a water, river, or tributary or something like that. It's frustrating. If you can't retrieve the bird, then typically I wouldn't send a shot out either, and just improve my hunting and success rate by having a retriever, I guess. And I really think it's a nice quality to have for me.
Absolutely. Well, you just got back from a pheasant hunt in South Dakota with Ron Shera and Scott Franzen. And did you get to see good Ron or bad Ron? And when I say good Ron or bad Ron, I put it like this. So we like to put Ron in the best spots so that he gets those easy chip shots, like a poster. He should be a poster in the best spot, because when he hits, there's nobody at camp that puffs up their feathers and struts around like Ron Shera. But when he misses, there's nobody that comes up with excuses like Ron Shera. Too much wind, not enough wind. Sun's at the wrong angle, wasn't high enough, too high. I mean, too hot, too much humidity. He's come up with all of them. Was it good Ron out there or bad Ron?
Well, first off, anytime we get to spend with Ron, whether it's business or a mixture of business and pleasure, is really fun. He's just a hoot to visit with, and a wealth of information and knowledge over all the years that he's spent afield and amongst a lot of folks that are great personalities. So he brings a lot to the table, and he's enjoyable. We saw some great shots from Ron, and we get humbled as well. So he's a blast to be around, and we really enjoyed that trip with those guys. We were fortunate to be a part of. So
yeah, Ron is so much fun. We go hunting together and fishing together, and it doesn't matter if we're hunting or fishing. When he has a good day, oh gosh, everybody knows it. And when he has a bad day, everybody knows about it too, which is what makes him so great. And I love giving him such a hard time. We get along really, really well, which is why I feel like I can give him crap constantly, because he gives it right back whenever he has the chance. So he did hit a bird though, huh?
Oh yeah, he actually had the longest shot, and it was.
Come on, did somebody else shoot it and just said Ron got it?
Well, Scott tried to pull that, but I was quickly there to defend Ron. He was he was not posting; he was actually walking at this point in time on day, I think it was day 3. So
I'm sure walking the edge, right? Walking the edge. He wasn't walking the cover, was he?
This particular area didn't have a lot of cover. We had a lot of good dogs, so.
Okay, all right. Well, I love it when everyone shoots and Ron claims it. That's pretty common.
Well, if you shoot last, you've always got the kind of last word. So.
Yeah, yep. He's known to just pull the trigger, up in the air randomly and say, "Got it." Oh, well, while you guys are out there scratching each other's backs, some of us were here working, keeping things rolling. But I'm glad you enjoyed your time out there.
Thank goodness we had wonderful weather and just not too far over the South Dakota border. Great accommodations and just a great bunch of guys and gals that we were able to spend some time with for a couple days before deer hunting. So, yeah, it worked out great. It's kind of a difficult time right now for people to get away, and we just had a spectacular group that was committed to having a good time and being safe, and that was kind of the main thing. It was a good, fun trip.
Good. Glad to hear that. We're in the heart of hunting season right now. And dog nutrition is a big deal, I know, for a lot of hunters. We'll get into um, a lot of these dog specific questions. But first off, how has COVID affected your business, NutriSource and dog food and the supply chain? Anything? Has it been affected at all?
We were deemed an essential business from the get go, which we're very thankful for. We saw a lot of um, pantry hoarding initially when this whole situation came out. So the unknown to your question is supply chain, whether it be ingredients or packaging and those types of things. We were very concerned with as we saw a huge uptick in increased sales. For example, someone would buy what they would typically buy a one bag for 30 days. They were buying three or four, not knowing if their store was going to be able to carry the product or we were going to be able to manufacture it. So after that, after a huge month in March, we started to see those orders and our manufacturing process slow down a little bit. So we went from a huge influx of business to more of a level business, tapered off back to normalcy in April and May, and then we've been fairly strong ever since. A lot of our suppliers are local for us, local vendors, local growers. We're located just up in west central Minnesota, kind of in the heart of a lot of good farming and agricultural products that we're able to use in our feeds. So we're fortunate that way, and try to shop local whenever we can for
Mm-hmm.
ingredients and in our packaging. So it's been a different time, as we all know. I think a lot of our customers were forced to look at other options for purchasing their products. Some of their local feed stores and a lot of our independent retailers were forced to have shorter hours or just a different way of doing business, curbside delivery, those types of things. So, and some folks maybe were afraid to go outside and do some of the things in their normal life, so they were forced to change their buying habits to sometimes online or
Uh-huh.
curbside pickup and delivery. So, it made things a little bit more interesting, but I think all of our retailers and partners out there were able to adapt the best they could. So we're starting to see some normalcy get back into their buying habits today, which we'll see what happens as we look at a second wave here of how things could possibly change again. So
Yeah, do you have any concerns? Because I know here in Minnesota, we're looking at, more restrictions for the state with this new spike in cases again. Do you have any concerns? And what do you have a backup plan? Because I mean, maybe I don't understand the whole facility, but if you have to close down for a week or two, that could have a drastic effect, right?
yes, it could. We've been pretty fortunate here with our quality control and safety, and we haven't had a lot of cases. But again, we've seen that change throughout the state over the last 8 9 months. So we've
Mm-hmm.
got we do work out several weeks at a time in our inventory. So we we have taken some steps to do what we can to insulate ourselves with our best selling products and have some extra extended lead times on those products and inventory. So we're doing the best we can. Again, it's the uncharted waters here, but
Mm-hmm.
we've we feel pretty confident that we've gotten through it earlier this spring, and hopefully we can get through it here without too many hiccups here this second time around. So
We hope so too. Um, let's go back in time just a little bit. You mentioned it, Toughies, the name Toughies. What is the history of your company like, and from where you started to where you are today?
sure, actually the owner of our company was Tuffy Nelson. His real name was Daryl Nelson, and Daryl started this business in 1964 up in a small town called Pearl, Minnesota. Daryl and his son Kenny started the business selling pet food in 1964, and in the 70s they ended up selling the business off to another pet food manufacturer. All the while, the company stayed in the community, and Kenny and his family started a number of other businesses within the community. And in 2000, the pet food facility was to be closed down. At that point, um, Kenny, as Tuffy had passed away, so Kenny and his son Charlie Nelson bought back the Tuffy's facility and the namesake, and started NutriSource Pet Foods as our flagship brand of a product that was really geared towards the sports people or sports person's dog. At that point, we wanted to come out, and that was at really the start of higher quality products and different types of ingredients going into a performance type feed, and that just kind of spurred what we have today, a larger breadth of high quality products, quality meats and grains, and different type of ingredients and diets for those dogs that have special needs. Okay, not just performance dogs, but now pets are part of our family more than ever. So we start to see some of the issues that they might have, whether it be a grain-free diet or a certain sensitivity to a protein source. So we've got different options, and we made a really really tried to have a well-rounded diet offering for all pets. And that was in 2001, brought us all the way up to 2020, and we've got a number of different brands out there, really really looking at the long-term nutritional value of pet food out there to help our dogs and cats be part of our family.
Are dogs your like? Are they the biggest chunk of your pet food business?
Our dry dog food is our highest volume, but you'd be surprised how much cat food that we also manufacture.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of cats out there that get fed
Right?
our Tuffy's cat food that's been around since 1964. The same formula has been made, and that sells a lot of volume here in the Midwest. Um, but NutriSource dog is our highest volume producing product in volume and dollars for us.
Gotcha. Do you sell out of the country too, or is it strictly in
Yes,
America?
yes, we do have a international distributor that sells worldwide for us, and that
Okay.
business worldwide is continuing to get larger for us from a branded standpoint as people in other parts of the world are starting to see the economic their economic situation is in a better place than it used to be. So with that, dogs and cats come along as part of the family as well. So we've been blessed that way.
Yeah. Well, and this is the year of the puppy, right? COVID
Exactly.
and puppies. I feel like I know everybody I know got a puppy this year.
I think you got one this year, didn't you?
Yeah, dude. She's laying right next to me. She's actually taking a nap, believe it or not. She's thinking of pheasants right now, and she's also in heat, which
Oh, okay.
brings me to a very interesting question. What do
Okay.
I need to do differently with her diet when she's in heat? Is there anything?
I don't believe there is. Just you might want to make sure you got eyes on her at all times if you got neighbor dogs around. Then we
Yeah.
might need to change her diet.
Yeah. Yeah, no, she's not allowed near anybody right now, and it's going to stay that way. But I have noticed, though, just some changes. And normally she just hammers her food. I mean, it doesn't stand a chance. Uh, it didn't. It stood a chance for the first time ever. The first day, and maybe it's because she's got the diaper on right now. It's ridiculous,
Oh,
but she's uncomfortable. She doesn't like it, so everything is. She's almost like disappointed in everything right now. But yeah, I felt like she just changed her eating habits a little bit. I suspect every dog kind of reacts a little bit differently, but this is my first experience with it. And eventually she finished all of her food. I just didn't know if there's anything else that I needed to be concerned about on that end.
sure. Like you said, every dog's got a different personality when hormones are involved, and I guess I've never had to change my dog's diet because of that situation. But again, everybody reacts differently to different things that are going on inside their body. So
Well, not to get now that I got super personal there, that information. Let's get back to what so you guys pride yourself on the good for life system. Can you explain that? What is the good for life system in your dog food?
Yeah, the Good for Life system is a proprietary ingredient group of four main ingredients that basically protein A minerals are a great mineral to have in your food, which allows they just do a lot of good things. It allows the good nutrients to get absorbed into the body quicker and utilized quicker. So, um, skin and coat and those types of things, flatulence are big things that we notice as pet owners. And when you see a good looking dog and you see that coat, that really pops, and that's something that we're really proud of with our pet food. Pre and
Mm-hmm.
probiotics we have in our Good for Life system as well, and those they really allow us to rotational feed, which I think is really important. Years ago, it was always talked about if you get your pet food on, you get your dog on one kind of food, you want to keep them there. And that's not necessarily the case. This proprietary pre and probiotics allow us to rotate our feed without any upset in the gut. Okay, so if you had to eat the same thing every day, you probably get bored with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and there's different amino acid profiles and different protein sources. Okay, so you might want to be on a fish-based diet in the wintertime because you're in the house more often. You got dry and flaky skin as a pet. The omega 3s and sixes and that makeup of that protein is different than what a beef protein might be, or a chicken protein might be, or a duck or a pheasant or a quail protein that your dog's eating. So by having the ability to rotate your feed, it's really getting a more well-rounded diet in a gut that can change without having to have upset stomach and or upset bowel movements, which is no fun to clean up.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, most people would say stick to one food, right?
Right. Over the years, and again, when you work for a pet food company, you've got the ability to switch feed pretty easily and kind of
Mm-hmm.
do your own research. And there's some certain protein sources that this setter I used to have, she would just not make a very very good stool. But if
Hmm.
you get her on different protein sources, and she did great, and she did really great on three or four different kinds. But there was one that she never could do well on,
Huh.
and I just knew that lamb was not a protein source. She did well on it, but she didn't have the stool content that I was happy with. And rotational feed, I think it's a great thing if you have the ability to do it. If your dog's not sensitive to certain things, the Good for Life system in our product allows us to really be successful at doing that.
So, what determines your rotational feeding calendar on when you choose to make that switch?
It's a personal preference, Travis. I like to switch up about every 60 days or 2 bags. That just seems to work for me. I'm traveling quite a bit, so I don't have. I sometimes need more than 30 days to do that, but you definitely can do it for 30 days. Again, I've got the luxury of having some different types of products readily available to me. If they
Mm-hmm.
don't work, I can make that change. But that's what works for me. But personal preference is inconvenience also fall into that thought process too.
Gotcha. So Daisy right now, she's 8 months old, and I've got her on the small and medium breed puppy blend. How much longer should I keep my puppy on that blend before switching her to an adult blend?
Typically, you're looking at about that 12-month range. Again, there is some personal preference on that. 12 to 18 months in that window, so a year to year and a half, depending on what you're seeing with your dog, and also with certain formulas, there's not that much of a change between a puppy formula and the protein and fat content versus the adult protein and fat content, with the exception of the small and medium breed puppy is a product that has tends to have a little bit more fat and protein than an adult formula would be. So at that point, if you start seeing Daisy starting to get a little bit heavier and you haven't changed your exercise diet, then maybe you look at getting into that adult formula maybe shortly thereafter 12 months.
So I've actually seen some people said, 6 months they've gone to the adult formula before. Is that kind of a no-no, or is that just their personal preference? I mean, I know that it's so hard to say definitively when we were talking about these kind of topics. But as a general rule, is that something that you would shy away from?
Well, again, it depends on what formula you're feeding. Now, for example, and I don't want to get too technical on you here, but the protein content on a small medium breed puppy is 30. Sometimes our formulas, I believe, are 31 to 32%, with a fat content of 20 to 21. When you get into an adult type formula, you go down from a 31 or 32 to a 26% protein, and from a 21% fat to a 16% fat. So there doesn't seem like a lot of percentages, but there is some changes. Now, if you were at a large breed puppy formula, you're actually very, very close in those percentages by protein and fat. So it's not a drastic change going from a large breed formula to an adult versus a small
Mhm.
medium breed formula to an adult. You're going to lose some fat and some protein content.
Gotcha. I have a lot of hunting related questions, but first I have to give a message from our friends in North Dakota. They want me to remind you that their bird numbers are up. And if you don't trust them or you don't trust me, just ask anybody that you know that has hunted in North Dakota this year. I haven't heard a single bad report from bird country. And if you're friends with people on social media that have hunted out in North Dakota, most likely you've seen photos full of feathers in their feeds. According to North Dakota's annual roadside counts this year, their pheasants observed per 100 miles were up 38%. Sharptails are up 54%, and Hungarian partridge are up 45%. My personal experience, and I've said this on the last several shows, those numbers are low because I feel like their numbers are higher than that this year. Plus, with an estimated 4 million breeding ducks up 18% this year, North Dakota Central region is prime habitat for both hunting waterfowl and upland birds. North Dakota has more than 700,000 acres of private land open to public walk-in hunting. For the latest plots guide, visit the North Dakota Game and Fish Department or legendarynd.com. I use Onyx Maps for many reasons. The most important reason is because I hunt a lot of public lands in places that I've never hunted before. Onyx Maps give me peace of mind knowing that I'm always standing on public ground or places that I have permission to hunt. I simply can check my location while I'm walking in the field. Onyx Maps are also a great scouting tool. I turn on the government layers in the state that I want to hunt, which essentially highlights lands that are open to the public. I start with the big picture view of the map, and then when I see the highlighted areas, I zoom in for a closer look. I can drop a pin and drive right to the property that looks birdy. No more searching slowly online for information or big, bulky atlas maps. With the Onyx app, everything I need to know is right at my fingertips everywhere I go. That includes private landowner names in case I want to stop and ask for permission or give them a call. Download the Onyx app right onto your smartphone and take it everywhere with you in the field. Onyx Map, the best tool for every hunter to help you know where you stand. Well, Matt, I was on a hunting trip in North Dakota, of all places, and one of the dogs did not want to eat. So I have with me your canned dog food, and it's that I believe it's a chicken and rice mixture.
Sure.
And she did not want to eat her regular food, but I told my buddy, I said, "Here, give this a try," and she scarfed it right down. Is that common when you're hunting out there to have dogs that do not want to eat?
It sometimes can, Travis, in my experience. Again, certain dogs are more prone to stealing food whenever they can, and maybe sometimes when they shouldn't. But sometimes those dogs are so excited to be out there. They're traveling. They've got multiple dogs that maybe they don't see every day. They're just jacked up, even after a hunt. Okay, sometimes we need to have that nutrition get in those dogs because they need to perform tomorrow. So
Mm-hmm.
if we have to trick those dogs into eating their dry kibble, sometimes sometimes people will put a little hot water on their kibble to release that fat and protein, that fat smells to get those dogs to really want to eat that food. Sometimes you have to relate to that canned product in the kibble. I like doing that because there's two things. It's got a lot of good protein. It's
Mm-hmm.
got a lot of moisture. Dogs need to have that. They get dehydrated. They don't always have the opportunity to have enough water during those hunting trips. Whether you're traveling in the back of a Suburban and the heat's on, to keep the hunters warm. They get dried out, or if they're in the back of a pickup, trying to keep themselves warm in the topper in the kennel and for long distances. So between the excitement and the dehydration and the activity levels, it's just key to have as much moisture in that product as you can during those hunting trips, so that they can get up and go to work the next day, because they're going to run 6 to 10 miles a day sometimes, depending on how long you got to hunt to find your birds.
Hmm.
They need to have some gas in the tank.
Have you seen dogs that still wouldn't take it, or that pretty much seal the deal that they'll take that canned stuff?
uh, my dogs don't eat in the morning. They're not interested in eating on the during the hunting trips in the morning. So
Hmm.
I'm just focused on that's my experience. Is they're not they when we get them out of the kennels and we air them in the morning and let them dump out. They might have some water, but they're not interested in eating, and that's fine, because typically by the time we get going, they don't have enough time in that day to digest the product anyways. So they're
Hmm.
going to dump out when you're running the field, and they're not going to get any nutrient value out of it sometimes. I like to feed my dogs at night when I'm traveling, so
Hmm.
they've got the entire evening to absorb that food in the gut and be ready for the next day. Again, a personal opinion of mine, doesn't work for everybody.
I would say it's universally understood in the hunting dog world not to, at least upland dogs, I should say, not to feed in the morning before a hunt because of the risk of twisted stomach. Do you know what is kind of um, the time that you would want to make sure that between feeding a dog and hunting with the dog, what's the amount of time that you'd want to pass between that when you've fed them to when you feel it's safe that they can get out in the field and hunt?
When we're looking at a hunting situation, I look at that a little different than just running your dog.
Hmm.
I like to wait a couple hours after we have some type of high activities before I feed my dogs. When I'm just at home, we'll run the dogs, and I like to give them, kind of like your mom used to say, you don't you don't want to eat before you swim.
Right, right.
um, so I like to give them a couple hours. But when I'm hunting, I really like to have them have 6 to 8 hours before they're hunting, to get that nutrition in their body before they get excited and worry about working it off. I'd like to see that. Again, my personal opinion, and every
Hmm.
dog's different. That's just what I've had success with. Big thing for, again, I'm upland bird dog guy, deep chested dog. Twisted gut syndrome is a very big concern.
Hmm.
Um, Been fortunate enough not to see it happen, but
Hmm.
aware of it enough to be afraid of it.
Right. Well, that's how we're talking about it. I mean, it's an important topic. Um, what's the biggest mistake people make when it comes to their dog's nutrition? Is it feeding them too much?
I think feeding too much and feeding a low quality product. Okay, so you might look at what you're buying now, Travis, and it's probably a middle of the road price point. And you look at that bag and it's 30 pounds, and you look at the 50-pound bag next to it and it's half price, right?
Yep.
So a lot of folks will say, well, I only pay X amount of dollars for a product, and but I'm feeding 4 or 6 cups a day. Well, that's the changing world in pet nutrition. Is it costs more to feed your dog less. And you can feed your dog less because of the high quality ingredients that get utilized by your dog more efficiently. Okay, so if you can get away with feeding your dog a cup and a half a day versus 4 cups a day, the price per feeding goes down significantly.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is you don't have to clean up the mess because it's getting utilized by the dog. You're feeding less, you're having less bowel movements and smaller bowel movements. Okay, so there's the trade off, and that's a lot of the education that's going on in pet nutrition today. Is we're all guilty of it, and that was just the way it was in the past. In the 70s and 80s, you would buy a large bag of pet food, and you would have a coffee cup for your measuring tool. Well, if you take a look at the size of the coffee cup versus an actual 1 cup measuring cup, it's quite a bit different.
Mm-hmm.
So your dog's going to eat what he or she's going to eat, but 4 coffee cup measurements might be 4.5 cups versus reality when you really only got to feed a cup and a half to a cup and 3/4 for some of these 50-pound dogs. So those are some of the concerns that are out there, and I don't want to say they're mistakes, but those are some things that are eye openers for a lot of folks when you start talking to them about feeding their pets.
What makes a food, and not just yours, but all brands out there, what makes a food high performance versus just regular dog food?
Okay, so that we would call that a performance formula
Hmm.
or a maintenance formula. Okay, and typically when you see a performance type formula on the front of the bag, whether it's ours or somebody else's, it's typically a higher protein, higher fat content. 30% protein, 20% fat is kind of that start of the performance type product mix labeling. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, some products out there are higher protein and higher fat, but they're not marketing towards that performance type pet. They've just got a higher protein, higher fat ingredient panel, but might not be marketing towards that performance product.
Do you know specific dog breeds that should be eating high performance versus regular food? I mean, or should they all?
Well, I don't think all dogs need to be on a high performance type diet. And typically, when you see a dog that might need to be on a high performance type diet, would be those dogs that are very slender in nature and have a hard time keeping weight on. And what I mean by that is you start looking at the kcals per cup of a certain type of dog food, a higher performance dog food. They typically can feed less product to get nutrients into that dog. So if you've got a slender dog that has a problem keeping weight on just by disposition, I'm looking at Vislas and short hairs and those types of dogs sometimes have a hard time keeping weight on. So if you can get as much energy into those dogs with the least amount of food, that diet probably works for that dog year round.
I was talking to Scott Franz, and he personally this hunting season said he put on 300 miles walking. He's been out west basically since the beginning of September until early November, hunting, on our show, and while he hunted with you, he hunted in North Dakota like 4 times with buddies. He filmed the show up there, etc., etc. His dog Hank, he said, lost 7 pounds. Was it 7 pounds or 10 pounds? But either way, it was a noticeable amount. What was he doing wrong? I mean, obviously Hank was just a hunting machine for days and days and days and weeks. But is that normal? Is there something he should have done different for that dog to not have lost that much weight?
I probably should have asked him what he was feeding.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
No,
I'll do that next time I talk to him.
no, that it's pretty common when you've got that kind of activity level going on. And I've hunted with Hank, and I would say he's probably a 70-pound dog, and if he lost 7 to 10 pounds, that's a lot of weight. It really is
Hmm.
over a course of,
Hmm.
and depending on what kind of shape he went into the season as well, And he looked fantastic when I saw him a couple weeks ago. Typically, and again, personal preference. When I'm traveling with my dogs, there's stress on them. There's stress on them with other dogs. There's stress on them with travel. So if you can make their dinner, and you might need to treat them during the day and bait them. Because I just, sometimes they might get the half a sandwich at lunch, but they're not going to get a full meal of pet food, right? But something
Yeah.
to carry them through. And if you start noticing that your dog's losing weight and maybe not performing up to that level, you sometimes have to take a day off too and let them recover. And that's not always the case when you've got limited time on a situation where you're traveling and sometimes you don't have access to other dogs either. So I
Hmm.
think just staying the course and keeping an eye on your dog. Don't be afraid to continue to put calories in them when you
Yeah, I was
can.
gonna say it's not a bad thing to give him a little bit of extra, right?
No, not during hunting season because the amount of work and activity they're doing out there is crazy. It really
Hmm.
is. And you start talking to mushers and those types of folks that are really really extreme athletes, and they've all got different things that they're doing during race day than they do day to day. and there's no way to physically put enough calories sometimes to make up to what they're losing during those high extreme temperatures and extreme athletic conditions. So sometimes you have to get creative and do some things on top of what you normally would do. Again, adding canned food, maybe it's adding some other types of protein sources, maybe some of that steak leftovers and some of those things that, not the bones, of course, but those things
Hmm.
that you wouldn't normally do. There's just you can only burn more calories than you take in for a period of time and not see some decrease in weight loss or increase in weight loss or some other type of change in body.
Gotcha. Um, how do you know how much food to give to your dog each day? Not talking hunting, but just there are
Sure.
so many different breeds out there, so many different sizes. Is there, I mean, it should be common knowledge based on the food you're buying, but not everybody probably follows the rules correctly. I mean, is there is there kind of like a here's how much you should actually be feeding them amount?
There's a guideline, Travis, on the packaging, and again, it's a guideline, right? It's
Hmm.
what you see when you look at your dog, and what I see when I look at your dog. Hopefully, are the same things, but we came from two different schools of thought, and maybe it's not the same. And again, you add into a family situation, which is probably 90+% of our pet owners have more than one person caretaking for that dog, and sometimes you can't see your dog when they take the stick of butter off the kitchen table, right?
Hmm.
Because they will. So there's a guideline on your bag, and there's others. You can go to. There's certain websites out there, and maybe consult with your veterinarian what your genetically what your dog's supposed to look like, right? There's some different pointers out there between looking at rib cages and those types of things, and hips and those kinds of things. And some people are okay with what is laid out there. Your dog's supposed to look like this. Some people aren't, right?
Hmm.
And some people don't understand that there's dogs that are predisposed to being slender, just like humans. And you can feed them
Hmm.
a lot of calories a day, but they don't change. When I got Tate, he was 50 pounds when he was 2 years old. He's going to be 10 and he's still 50 pounds, but he's very slender, right? Um,
Hmm.
and he hasn't changed. He's been within 49 to 50 pounds for 9 years.
Do you so you guys have different blends, large breed, small breed. What is what's your cutoff on what you determine to be a small breed versus a large breed? Is there a certain weight associated with that that you would recommend people to look into, or is it different breeds?
Well, typically, when we look at our guidelines for small breed versus large breed, first start out, we typically start off with a puppy. And our guidelines and how we formulate our products for small breed puppy is if you're going to be below 70 pounds at adulthood, you could be a small breed dog. You feed small, medium breed puppy. And then when you become a dog that's going to be matured at 70 pounds or higher, we would suggest that and formulate the large breed puppy formula. Okay.
Hmm.
We get into adulthood, we have an all life stage formula, which feeds all dogs. Some large breed pet owners would like a larger kibble size. So there is a larger kibble size for a large breed formula, fairly close in fat and protein percentages. A little bit less for the large breed formula because typically large breed dogs tend to put on some weight with extra proteins that pet owners don't really want the dog to be overweight when they're large dogs.
Hmm. What how many times a day? Okay, so I'll say non-hunting season and then hunting season. How many times a day do you typically feed your dogs?
Sure. I like to break it up, and sometimes it comes down to what you have the ability to do, right?
Hmm.
So if you're home, if you were home like a lot of people are now, and they have the ability to maybe feed their dogs 3 times a day in smaller meals. Typically, I like to feed my dogs in the morning and again at night, just because that's when somebody's typically home for us. Don't always have the ability to do that. Um, we free feed, but we free feed the same amount in the morning and the same amount in the evening. And typically, our dogs will eat their cup and a half in the morning, and then they'll go out and do their stuff. And that's what they get during the day. And sometimes one or the other doesn't eat their dog food right away. And hopefully that the other dog doesn't eat their product, their breakfast. And sometimes they do. But that's the way we make it run. And it works good for us twice a day.
Now, do you switch that during hunting season?
Yeah, yep. Like I mentioned earlier, during hunting season, for me, it just works out that I like to feed after the day is done. The morning time is usually we're too excited if they know what's going on, and they do. They know when they got the shotgun out and you got they can smell your clothing and what's going on. So typically, my dogs are so excited they will not eat even if I bait them. So I just have a better luck feeding at the end of the day again and getting those products into their body for a longer period of time to absorb and get utilized, so that the next morning we're ready to go for the whole day.
Now I know you're biased because you work for NutriSource, but there are a lot of brands out there, different brands of dog food, and I know that you're biased because you work for NutriSource and your company makes, great food. You have the Good for Life system, but are there any differences about other dog food brands that are out there? I mean, the average hunter has a lot of options that they can choose from. What should they be looking for?
Yes, you're right. I am biased, Travis.
Right.
And,
I knew that. I knew that. But I still feel like your information is solid. So you want people's dogs to be in the best shape possible, right? You want them to
exactly.
be the same as I am. I'm the exact same way. I want them to be making good decisions, right? So they have options. Everyone has options for all the hunting gear we buy, and guns, or this gun does that or whatever, the clothing line. But when it comes down to our dogs, like the dog doesn't get to say, "Hey, Dad, I don't like that. I want to try something else," right? So you're making that decision, and you don't necessarily know for a fact that you're doing the right thing. What separates different dog foods that are available?
Sure. I think everybody's going to do their own research and talk to either friends and or their veterinarians and those kinds of things. But I like to look for a meat and meat meal type ingredient panel as the first 1 and 2 ingredients, and then followed by some good, highly digestible grains and those types of things. So that's what I like to see, and that's what's worked for us. We believe that a good ingredient panel is going to start out with 4 or 5 high quality ingredients, and that's when you're going to see that price point probably get into a little bit higher than maybe what a lower quality product would be at.
Can you say what a lower quality product is? Are you
Well,
comfortable saying?
I would say with a vegetable based diet. Okay, so there's a lot of ways to get protein. I feel that meat based protein is a highly digestible source, more so than a vegan based protein led diet.
Chicken and rice. That's pretty high up there, right? If somebody's like, "Hey, I don't want to switch things up. I want to stick with one." Is it chicken and rice?
A chicken based diet is probably typically the most readily available or common type product in the market that you'll see that is cost effective. It's chicken meal, or a chicken meal and a chicken and rice, or a chicken and oat. From a carbohydrate standpoint, those are all pretty common diets. But if you see the protein source as being a meat protein source named first, followed by a carbohydrate, typically you're looking at a decent diet for your dog. So it might be a lamb and rice, could be a beef and rice, Could be a chicken and rice. Could be salmon and oatmeal. The meat-based protein is the number one named ingredient, and that matches that on the back of the bag. Typically, you're probably doing yourself and your pet a favor.
Gotcha. And you're looking for Tootsie Rolls laying in the yard, right? You want solid, and then you're doing it. You're doing your dog well, right? Is that the
Yeah,
general rule?
that's an old adage. You like to see Tootsie Rolls. Exactly.
Is there any other signs to look out for that say, "Hey, I probably should try different food for my dog"?
I think the just general overall look of your dog. If your dog's got dry and flaky skin, might not be getting the nutrients that it probably needs, and you might look at changing up the diet and see if that's something that helps out, or it's not getting enough of something that you see a drastic change all of a sudden in their skin and their coat. Those are probably the two major things that I see as a diet can change that pretty quickly. It takes a couple weeks for that diet to work. I wouldn't suggest buying a 5-pound bag of something new and expecting that to change your dog's life over the course of a week and a half. But typically feed that product for 30 to 60 days, and your dog seems to like it, and you start to see an overall health change, then you know that you might be feeding them something that they need more than what they had in the past.
Gotcha. I'll call this the last question. Are treats bad for dogs?
Not if they're ours.
Well, I feel like, I shouldn't eat treats. I know that I get told that all the time. I don't need any more, but are they bad for dogs? I'm
Yeah.
assuming, when you're out in the field, giving them a little bit of energy, having them with, do you bring treats with, or is it just food that you bring with in the field just to give them a little bit of energy?
Travis, I'm the worst guy to ask. I sell pet food for a living, and I forgot my own dog food and treats more than anybody I know. So
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
I have to
But
go to the store.
are there bad treats out there that you'd want to avoid?
I think the major thing with treats is if you're feeding a high quality diet, you also want to probably feed a similar type treat. And that's the biggest challenge that we see out there. Somebody might be spending a high amount of dollars on their pet food, and then they'll go buy the cheapest dog treat they can, which typically has the same situation as if it's a least cost item, probably has least cost ingredients. And if you're trying to get away from feeding a least cost diet to your pet and having them perform at a high level, then you probably want to spend the same amount of dollars towards your treat thing. And yeah, there are some treats that have a lot of they're least cost, but they have a lot of bad ingredients. And the reason why dogs love them is because they're just like candy, right? So they'll be full of sugar and different types of ingredients that are really good for the dog, or the dog really likes and feels palatable, but it's not good for them long term. So I think it goes along the same lines. Just do your research on a high quality diet, and you want your treats to kind of mimic that with a meat based protein as the number one or two ingredient, and you'll do yourself and your dog a little bit better favor.
I appreciate all this information. Hopefully it's helpful. I appreciate you taking the time today. If people do have any extra questions, additional questions that we didn't cover, is there kind of like a Q&A on your website, or
Sure. Yep.
somebody they can talk to learn more?
You bet. Yeah. www.NutriSourceDogFood.com is our website, and you can Google that. We've got a customer service line that you can reach out to, and one of our regional managers, depending on what part of the country or world you're in, will get a hold of you and answer any questions you've got, or do the best we can to steer you in the right direction, help you out. The big thing for us guys is Travis, and this, and people that have fed our products. Our main goal is to get the best nutrition into those pets out there that we can, and we appreciate you taking the time to have us online here today, and look forward to hunting some birds with you pretty soon.
Yeah, no kidding. I appreciate it. Daisy does too. She's laying over here looking at me right now. She looks phenomenal, and she's been chowing down the NutriSource Pet Foods for a while, and I'm very, very, very pleased with it so far. So
Great.
I hope everything stays safe for you and your in your company, and you guys keep pumping out the food, and our hunting dogs will keep eating it.
That's awesome. I appreciate it, Travis.
Thank you. And thanks for letting Ron shoot the easy ones. He needed that. We really need him in good spirits when he comes back, because there's nothing worse than him coming back to the office after a bad hunt. He swear he's going to hang it up and never go try again. So
Well,
it's a big deal for us.
That's great. Happy to do that.
Yeah. All right. Once again,
All right.
thank you to North Dakota Tourism for helping us to make this show possible. To beg your limit this fall in North Dakota, visit legendarynd.com. And don't forget to download the Onyx map to help you plan your hunting adventures and find those pieces of property that are open to the public and full of wild birds. Current episodes of The Flush are airing right now on the Outdoor Channel. Catch the action every week, Monday, Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday. We'll be back next week with another episode of The Flush Podcast.